Now, Simone is a hospitality industry professional and the author of 2 best-selling books on hotel marketing. With a career spanning more than 20 years, he's a former hotel general manager, a consultant, contributor to major industry blogs, and MBA lecturer. Simone is the founder and CEO of Travel Singularity, the consulting firm whose vision is to solve the growing needs for connecting the dots between digital disruption and existing technologies in hotels. I'll let Simone finish up there. I will give him the floor. Simone, welcome. Thanks again for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me, and I don't think I have to add anything. You pretty much said everything about myself. The presentation I want to give you today is a little more philosophical in a way. I just want to talk a little about the possible futures that we may see in the hospitality industry. So let's make a little trip in 20 years or so. So let me start with a beautiful piece of classical music, and you should be able to listen to it while I speak. And the first time I heard this piece of classical music, I thought this was Chopin or Tchaikovsky, and I was shocked to find out that the reality of things was that the whole composition was made by an artificial intelligence algorithm, right? And if you look into the topic, you will see that not only this is quite common, but you can see that artificial intelligence is being used in several aspects of our daily life that we usually don't think are the realm of artificial intelligence, and that is creativity for once. AI is used widely in music, as we saw, even in pop music, and in movie creation, in TV show creation. So even those acts of creativity that we always think are only something that us humans have are becoming part of this new way of, let's call it, artificial intelligence approach, right? And to me, it's even more interesting to see how some even more private or spiritual, in a way, aspects of our lives are now have now some level of non-biological intelligence in that. And I always make this example. A few years ago, and this was before all the COVID started, I had the pleasure to be in Kyoto for a couple of weeks, and I visited a Buddhist temple in Kyoto. And in this Buddhist temple, you could actually see something that to me was quite new. I've never seen it before, but I just traveled to go there and understand better. And this is what you're seeing on my screen right now. It's basically a cyborg, let's call it like that. It's a cyborg Buddhist monk that explained the main concept of Buddhism. And the cool thing about it is that this cyborg has a level of artificial intelligence, so it will learn and keep learning from exchanges with other monks. And at first I thought, okay, this is something bizarre from Asia. They're pretty advanced when it comes to robotics. But if you see what is going on my screen right now, you see that even more, let's call it classical religions, Western religions such as Christianity are implementing some level of technology into their daily practice. Okay, what you just saw on my screen was it's an application that you can actually download for free and helps you out with the rosary, right? So it's fascinating to me how these aspects of our lives that we really thought were only ours are now becoming the realm for tech, AI, machine learning, automation, and so forth. And to me, it's also interesting to understand why we're seeing this surge in technology and in AI. Why now? And I always say the question shouldn't be why. The question should be why now? Why we are now seeing all this surge in AI? And of course, it's a pretty complicated question. Probably a question that will take more than 15 minutes to answer. But if we want to find some patterns, we can identify some factors that are creating this perfect environment for artificial intelligence to flourish. And I would say that when it comes to that, a big role was played by global connectivity. I'm 42 now, so I lived the early years of the web when we used to connect with 56K modem. So I do remember the struggle of waiting a couple of hours to download a single album. And if you're in your 40s, you probably remember that as well. And if you compare it to what we have now, 20 years after, we have global connectivity pretty much on every single part of the world, with some areas with 5G connectivity. So we were able to be always connected with an high speed and get the best out of this new powerful connection. And another factor that was pretty central to create this perfect environment was easier and cheaper access to cloud computing. And if you know me, it's one of my favorite topics. I probably publish, I think, at least 5 or 6 articles about the cloud and moving from legacy systems to cloud system. And what you can do with cloud computing, basically you can have access to a supercomputer without having to buy the infrastructure. And this means that even small, independent, very revolutionary companies can actually have this huge computational power that they can use to develop their ideas and their products, right? And it's something that was totally unthinkable just 15, 20 years ago. And of course, you got process in machine learning, progress in AI, up to some more philosophical areas where you can even open a more heated debate that is stuff like nanotechnology, for example, or biotechnology, and up until 3D printing. Which is I had a conversation with a friend. She works at MIT, and they're actually building the first hotel in space. Probably you heard about that. That should be finished between 2026 or 2027, if I remember correctly. And she was explaining to me that most of the structure of these properties will be 3D printed, and so the application are just amazing, and they all come back to creating this perfect storm where automation technology and artificial intelligence can actually flourish and create this post-human industry, as I call it, right? And again, I like to, because I think the whole concept of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and technology in general is closely linked to us being human. And because of this link, I think probably the best way to look at artificial intelligence and progress in tech is probably through the eyes of philosophy, right? Through the eyes of rational thinking. And my favorite philosopher, I think one of the most important thinkers of all time, is Friedrich Nietzsche. just once said that man is just a rope between the beast and what he used to call the Übermensch, sometimes translated as the Superman or the Overman. And if you know a little about Nietzsche, you know that this interpretation was sometimes misunderstood, sometimes even exploited to validate some thesis. The link that I'm starting to see, and some other futurists are seeing recently, is the connection between what Nietzsche used to say about the Superman, the Overman, the Übermensch, call it that what you like, whatever you like, and artificial intelligence. So, the main idea here is that what Nietzsche was saying is probably that the evolution of man, what he calls the Übermensch, the Overman, the Superman, is not going to be biological by any means, but it's going to be some kind of mix between biological intelligence and artificial intelligence. And it's a very fascinating topic to me, as at least if you're into philosophy. It's something that I discussed with several colleagues and even people from the more philosophy area departments. And so the interesting thing is that, especially in an industry like ours, when we see this human-centric approach, that to a certain extent it makes sense, because it's traditionally hospitality is all about human interaction, right? But what we should start to understand, and what we should start to even implement and probably foresee in our strategies, is the fact that artificial intelligence and human intelligence don't live in silos, right? And this is something that you see more and more, and you can see it even in our industry, even if we are maybe a little late when it comes to industries such as retail, for example, or services. And so I always say that it's never artificial intelligence versus human intelligence, but it's rather artificial intelligence plus human intelligence. And that is the angle where I look at the quote unquote problem, where I look at the topic, right? And to a certain extent, we need to come to terms with the fact that some of the human activities as we knew will never be the same. And probably some of the human activities that we used to rely on will be managed by either robots or AI or technology in general. And there's this beautiful quote from Harari, and that it says that, and it's on the Homo sapiens book, something that I really suggest you to read. And it says, Homo sapiens is an obsolete algorithm. And even though it's quite a big statement, to a certain extent, I think I can relate to that. And if you think about a couple of jobs that used to be pretty normal up until 10 years ago, and now they're completely disappeared. Just think about the bank cashier, for example, completely disappeared. Now, if you want to withdraw some money, you just go straight to the ATM and you do everything with a machine, right? And in our industry, probably the most epic case is what happened with physical travel agencies. It's like they pretty much disappeared when online distribution started becoming a big thing. So the point is that even though we are romantic in a way when it comes to our industry, and I do understand that, again, to a certain extent. I used to be a general manager. I've been in this industry for 22 years now, so I completely understand the emotional relationship we can have with what we do daily. But we need to come to terms with the fact that probably hospitality, like pretty much every other industry out there, will not be what we used to think in the next 15, 20 years or so, right? And the this is what I call techno darwinism. Okay, at some point, the strongest will live, and the weakest will perish, unfortunately. And this is something that is going to happen either we like it or not. You know, just there was this interesting study made by McKinsey, for example, saying that 70% of what we do of our jobs can be already replaced by either robots or artificial intelligence. So I think it would be even arrogant to a certain extent to think that things will never change, things will never evolve. Okay, and again, this is not only something that you can see on hospitality; it's something that you can see pretty much on every aspect of your life. And but when we come to hospitality, this is where things to me becomes more interesting, because again, I have background in hospitality, and I always loved technology. So it's like, to me, it's talking about tech in hospitality is like a perfect match, right? And what we need to start understanding probably is that we are maybe overestimating what I call the human touch in hospitality. And probably if we could accept the fact that there is another way of doing operations, for example, we could get to a better industry and to a better guest experience. Now, what you see on my screen now, it's a fascinating study by Qualtrics. And what Qualtrics says is that 57%, so this is more than one review out of two, 57% of poor hotel experiences are down to unfriendly staff. So this is not 57% of these bad reviews are not coming because there's something wrong with the room, or there's something wrong with the breakfast, or there's something wrong with the technology, but there's something wrong with the staff. And again, this doesn't mean that it should be AI versus human intelligence. This just means that at some point we need to rethink the way we manage things in hospitality, and we need to put the humans where the humans have some kind of value. And I always say that there is a whole part of the travel industry, especially when it comes to hospitality, that should be managed by machines. And this is what I call the logistics of travel, right? And these are all these areas where the human touch is not giving anything more to the final experience. And think about, a receptionist making a copy of your passport, or making a copy of your credit card, or everything that has to do with checking in or checking out. All this logistics of travel does not come with any additional value made by humans. On the contrary, more often than not, you have these receptionists and front office managers that are so overwhelmed by the number of tasks they have to deal with daily that they will not be even able to create that relationship with the guest, right? That is, at the end of the day, what we're trying to create. And
Simone,
yeah,
we'll give you just one more minute to wrap up.
Yeah, sure. So what I'm trying to say with that is basically that we should rethink the way we manage our industry, and especially we should rethink the way we deal with technology when it comes to hospitality. Technology is not an enemy. It's something that we should implement in our day-to-day operation. And this can be anything from the use of artificial intelligence in design. There are several amazing companies doing amazing things like Bookmark or The Grid with design, the use of artificial intelligence in advertisement, the use of artificial intelligence in revenue management. That is a pretty heated topic, up until the use of new trends when it comes to creating our rooms, right? So anything from smart rooms, keyless technology, voice tech, conversational marketing, video streaming, sleep aid devices, gaming, touchless technologies, and ABS. So to wrap it up, the last 10 years, and this is a quote from the CEO of Google and Alphabet, the last 10 years have been about building a world that is mobile first. Probably the first thing we do when we wake up is just checking our mobile. And this is something that just became real over the last 10 years. But the next 10 years could be all about creating a world that is AI first. So my suggestion is be ready for that. Do not overestimate the role of humans in our industry, and make sure to understand that human touch does not necessarily mean making boring, repetitive tasks and taking care of what I call the logistics of travel. So if you want to have more information about that, I have a book on the topic coming out next year. You can just drop me a message at PM on LinkedIn or just send me an email. Thank you very much.
All right. Let me just pop back in here. Simone, I can listen to your presentations over and over again, and probably do a whole episode just with you in it. But real quick, since we're running out of time with you, and we'll get David back up on the stage here, I wanted to ask you a quick question about hospitality tech. Now, you recently published an article in hospitalitynet.org. So in a minute or less, what are the best technology solutions that you see for optimizing revenue?
Oh, it's kind of hard to answer in 1 minute. But again, the main argument of that article was trying to find a balance between technophiles and technophobics, right? And this is something that you find very often, especially when it comes to revenue management. And this is because of all areas in our industry, probably revenue management is the one that is seeing accelerated use of AI. Think about RMSs, machine learning algorithms, and so forth. And my point on the article was that when I was researching for the book, I interviewed I think probably 50 between revenue managers, hotel owners, tech providers, and so forth on this specific topic. And every time I interview somebody, they always told me the same thing. Every time we add some level of automation, being on RMS, be on predictive pricing, be on ABS, to the revenue management strategy, we always had some kind of increase in volume, or at least some kind of increase in profit. So again, I always say it's probably human revenue management will be around for a few more years, but it's something that we should start looking into, just implementing technology.
Start implementing technology. Yeah, if you want to drop some stuff in the chat, so if people want to find out some more, feel free to do that. Thank you so much, Simone. Late notice, I really appreciate you joining us here at I Mean Hotel. You're a good friend of ours here, and we look forward to you joining one of our next programs.